the major reason you cannot feel joy and happiness is not because the world is becoming more chaotic. Neither is it because things are becoming more difficult in life. It's simply because you don't have a purpose. No offense meant, there is no purpose in your life, and that is the reason you are not feeling happy. The moment you start chasing after something meaningful, the moment you start setting goals, the moment you start writing things that you want to achieve and you start working on it, believe me, you begin to feel happy. Happiness doesn't come from luxury. You've been brainwashed, you've been lied to. Happiness doesn't come from materialistic things. Happiness doesn't come when you buy that new clothes. You might feel happy, but it's just temporary. But long-term happiness is only gotten from purpose and fulfillment. There is a saying, I've forgotten who made that saying. He said, under peaceful conditions, the warlike man attacks himself. So basically what this saying is all about is that when there's nothing that you're chasing, when there's nothing meaningful that you are doing, that's the peaceful part of it. Under peaceful conditions, you are not really doing anything meaningful. You're not chasing after a goal. You're not working on a purpose. You're not doing anything that is fulfilling. That's a peaceful condition. Then you as a warlike man that you are meant to be, you will attack yourself. And that is why you start getting addicted to substances, to junk food. That's why you become anxious. That's why you become depressed. Because you as a warlike man that you are meant to be, you have nothing to chase after. You have no purpose. You are living too much under peaceful conditions. And you as a warlike man, you begin to attack yourself. Because under peaceful conditions, the warlike man starts himself. And that is why you can't ever feel happy. Because you are not putting yourself in a warlike situation. Not in the real sense. We're not asking you to go and fight a war. But set a goal, purpose, things that are fulfilling. That is the war. And then you as a warlike man will focus on that thing. And that is the only way to become happy. That is the way to get happiness. If you are thinking that happiness will come from you making money, when you start making money, then you see that, of course, money can buy things. Money can buy materialistic things. Money can fulfill some things. And money can solve money problems. But there are still some things that will bring you entire or full happiness. And that is purpose, goal setting, fulfillment. And the reason you can't ever feel happy is because you don't have that purpose. You don't have that thing to chase after. You don't have that thing that you're working on. You're just living an empty life. Probably you're employed, you go to work, you come back home, you scroll, check that message, the girl you texted that has refused to reply you. You start thinking, you overthink, you become anxious. Then another stuff comes up again, you start feeling depressed of your state of life, the situation you are in right now. You've not started making money, you're not successful yet, That is because you are not chasing after something. That is because you've not really had a purpose to work on. And that is the peaceful condition that I'm talking about earlier. And the reason that you're attacking yourself is because you are a warlike man. And this is a peaceful condition. So of course, you attack yourself. So that is where all these vices are coming from. Your addiction, your anxiety, depression, traumatic feelings, loss and all of that. It's because you are not working on a purpose. You are not working on a goal. You're not working on something meaningful. And that's the only way you can be happy in life. Even the richest people, they get bored at some point in time. They have feelings of unhappiness when they are not working on anything. That's why you see some people that have money, they don't even know what to do with their money any longer. And that is why they commit offenses. They do things that are out of the way. They do things that sound stupid. But of course, they are wealthy, they are rich. But because they are not doing anything meaningful anymore, they are not working on anything purposeful. That's why they have feelings of boredom and unhappiness, and they start to look for happiness. They start to look for things that are enjoyable and pleasurable, right? And that is why they attack themselves more, because they are living under peaceful conditions. And it being a warlike person that they attack themselves, start feeling bored. And that's where you say a rich man committed suicide. A rich man is lustful. These are the things that occurs when you have no purpose, when you have nothing that you are running after. But because we have been brainwashed to feel that happiness only comes from buying motor or buying cars, happiness comes from building houses, happiness comes from buying the newest designer, happiness comes from materialistic things like from luxury. We've been brainwashed to believe this. But really, those things do not make you really happy. Those things just have a short-term fulfillment. But real happiness comes from purpose. It comes from freedom. It comes from fulfillment. And how can you get these things? You need to work on a purpose. Start working on a project. Plan. Do things that will take up your time. Not in a weird way, but things that will make you feel more purposeful in life. And the more you work on purposes, the more happy you'll become. That you won't even need instant gratification. You won't even need to scroll all day because you're working on a purpose. Scrolling will be like the barest minimum of the thing that you can actually do with your life. Like scrolling will be the lowest level of pleasure for you when you're working on a purpose. But when you don't have any purpose to work on, scrolling becomes the only way out of your feeling of boredom. And that's why you're even bored in the first place, because you have nothing to work on. You don't have a purpose. You don't have a goal. You don't have a plan. You're not working on anything. When last did you work on a meaningful thing? When last did you set up a goal for yourself? I want to achieve this physique. When last did you plan on a business? Okay, I want to make this so amount of money this year. I want to start social business this year. This is what I want to achieve. I want to become a more mindful and present person. I want to start a family this year. I want to build a brand this year. When last did you set a goal for yourself? Because that is how we are meant to be as humans. Purpose and fulfillment is the only way we can be happy as humans. And that makes us a warlike person. Being a warlike person that you are, under peaceful conditions, that is, you have no goals, you have no targets, you're not running after anything. You attack yourself by addiction. You start feeling anxious. You start getting depressed. All your trauma comes up again. All your tendencies of ADHD, obsessive disorders, attention deficits, all these things start coming up again because you are not working on a purpose, you're not working on any goal at all. And that is just the way we are meant to be as humans. We are meant to be warlike. And when we are living under peaceful conditions, then of course we attack ourselves. That's just the bitter truth. The only feeling, or the only way to feel happy, fulfilled, and to live a meaningful life is just to start having purposes. So the thing for you today is to set a goal, set a 6-month goal. Maybe physical goals to achieve a certain physique, maybe goals for your business, goals for your study, goals for your career, goals for helping the society. Set a goal and start working towards it. And you see how happier you will feel. And you see that you leave all your addictions, all your anxiety, all your depression. Because now you are warlike. You are not living under peaceful conditions. You set up those difficult conditions for yourself so that you can attack those conditions, or you can attack those things to achieve that purpose as a warlike man that you are. Because if you live under peaceful conditions, then you attack yourself. Under peaceful conditions, the warlike man attacks himself. And I'll see you in the next one.